so it's called On Being Black Before College. When I was in the 10th grade, I had a humanities teacher who did not understand what the word intelligent meant, who went to college and spent money on various degrees, and yet seemed to lack all common sense. One day he was teaching my class about slavery, and why black people were the ones who were always tested. Of course, he made me, the only black student, stand in front of the class to show everyone the differences between me and them, separating us like a mother and their child when the umbilical cord that connected them is finally cut. That day, I learned that my fellow peers and I were never connected, and society was the scissors that didn't allow us to ever be. He explained the differences between my hair and skin, and told my class that if I was to run away back then, it wouldn't have lasted long, and because I was so different, that it would be easy to retrieve me. Explained why I was the one to have the word nigga tattooed on my back, as if I lacked something that he had and was supposed to be connected to it forever. Dear 10th grade teacher and every other white person who sees the word nigga stamped on my forehead, I am not a nigga. Ignorant is the last word that defines me. Just because my intelligence surpasses your misunderstanding of what being black means does not give you the right to call me out of my name. I am more of a hot air balloon. My accomplishments are what fire me up into the air to float above whatever your expectations of me may be. I'm not loud because I am black. My vocal cords are just a little bit stronger than yours because of the pain my ancestors had to endure. They were silenced for so long that it would be wrong for me not to speak up for what I believe in. I'm not a random student at your school that doesn't belong in the seat next to you. Just because I look a little differently and my form is a little more curvy doesn't mean that we cannot connect. I'm the student that can bring different perspectives, and without me, you will continually be misinformed. I'm not failure, I'm success. Driven by the visions of the bent and broken backs of my ancestors, I'm not a genetic wonder, seemingly stronger and more powerful than you because of my race. I'm the product of those who had to work harder and move faster to find their place. And to every other black person who thinks that we have to act the same, I'm not an Oreo just because I dropped the ain'ts for the is-nots. I'm not whitewashed because I would rather listen to Coldplay than to Drake. That's actually not true. Or watch Princess Diaries instead of Menace to Society. That's not true either. Whatever. I have not lost my identity. I know my history. Slavery began in 1619 and it continues to be a reality. But now there's no need for slave owners because of the hate we have built up within our own race. I'm not your competition. I'm just trying to get rid of the division created by our imaginations. I'm not against you just because we share the same race but different skin tones. I'm just trying to help you realize that even though I'm dark and you are light, we can unite. I'm not your enemy. I'm your ally, hoping that one day you will realize that I am on your side. I'm not a nigga. Ignorant is the last word that defines me. Thank you.
That was awesome. Next up, we're going to have someone who's super close to my heart. My boy Alex Dobbs went to the Philippines with me, actually, this last fall. We lived about 20 minutes away from each other in the city of Manila. Honestly, if it wasn't for that dude, like, I would not have survived GLT. So, thanks to him. And I read his poem earlier. It is, to put it in propaganda's words, a fire hydrant of wokeness. So you're gonna want to listen to it. So if you come up here, bro.
Two-score and 12 years ago, in a speech, civil rights activist James Baldwin identified with the plight of his ancestors, saying quite literally, "I picked the cotton, and I carried it to market, and I built the railroads under someone else's whip for nothing." The history of Baldwin's ancestors is his history. Their sweat is his sweat, their blood his blood. The railroads, harbors, and the economy of the southern states was built upon his cheap labor. Moses said to a new generation about 40 years in the wilderness, after 40 years in the wilderness, to those whose parents experienced in the Exodus, "Teach your children that we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand." The African community maintains collective identity, and so did the ancient Near East. Collective thinking is biblical, God's design to form hearts in human community. Our history cannot be lost in the wind because it shapes who we are and our present reality. We're not good at remembering the past. Industrialism makes us individualistic and ahistorical. It doesn't help either that the colonizers get to write history's chronicles. Ethnocentric white rulers constantly put minorities on blast. Let me remind you of a few things that are too often overlooked. The idea that America was ever a Christian nation is a hoax. The founding fathers were deists and slave owners. Let's not forget that all men created equal really meant all white men who own property. Black males only counted as 3/5 a human, and only for political convenience, forced to carry cotton until their shoulder muscles separated from the bone. Embedded in the Constitution, this nation was founded on white supremacy. It was established on genocide of Native Americans. Its economy and infrastructure built on the backs of slaves. Let's not forget the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, which prevented Chinese people from immigrating and denied them citizenship. And then was reversed later so that Chinese immigrants would do the cheap and hazardous labor of building railroads. Let's not forget about the Japanese internment camps of World War II, where long-standing loyal citizens were rounded up like dogs and confined. These symbols are not just things of the past as if they are distant realities, secluded in the pages of history. White supremacy has not disappeared, for everything in our society happens within its context. Any person of color knows that what it is to grow up in a white world. You realize around the age of 5 or 6 that you're different. Images all around us confer whiteness as legitimate and socially desirable. White supremacy currently takes many forms in the realm of systemic oppression. The amount of black and brown bodies in prison is disproportionate when juxtaposed with the amount of white crime. Black defendants are 30% more likely to be imprisoned than whites for the same crime. The war on drugs has led to mass incarceration of black and brown bodies. Obscenely harsh drug crime punishments quickly make people of color felons, second-class citizens. If you have a white-sounding name, you're 50% more likely to get called in for an interview. Predominantly Latino neighborhoods in LA that have been safe havens for immigrants for a long time now fear the potential sting of ICE. Make America great again is really make America white again.
Better say that.
With white supremacy comes white privilege, the designation of favor to a certain demographic. Its nature is elusive and insidious, unconscious and invisible. I am a fish in water, a bird flying through the air, unable to notice my surroundings unless awakened. But alarm clocks are not free. The dark side of America's history, usually never told, is long and tragic. But it is my story too that I cannot ignore. You may be surprised to hear that my surname Dobbs is on the Constitution. My great ancestor Arthur Dobbs was an English governor in Northern Ireland who in 1754 moved to become the governor of North Carolina. His nephew, Richard Dobbs Speight, would later sign the original Constitution. It is my race and my ancestors that share the legacy of colonialism, racism, and oppression in this country and abroad. Even through the long history of racial segregation in America, the reality is that our lives were integrated from the beginning. When you live in the same town or the same campus and share spaces, even segregation is a form of integration. The question is not, do you integrate? It is, how well do you integrate? But back to my story. Have you ever heard of Joshua Dobbs, quarterback of the University of Tennessee? How about DeMarcus Dobbs, defensive end for the Seattle Seahawks? These are some of my distant relatives, my black brothers from the state of Georgia. It is safe to assume that their ancestors were the slaves of my ancestors, adopting the last name of their slave owners, and quite possibly the fruit of rape. If there is ever to be greater connection between the gaps, we need to be honest about the past, to share our stories, and to listen. Yes, especially if you are white, listen and do research on your own. I share all these things tonight because I feel a responsibility to share with my white brothers and sisters about white supremacy and white privilege. This burden is light compared to African Americans who mourn the senseless shootings of black bodies, who maybe most painfully mourn the world that their children will have to grow up in. I will never comprehend or understand what it is like to be in the shoes of a person of color who suffers dehumanization for systemic racism. My white privilege, of course, insulates me from such experiences. I'm the benefactor of systemic racism. Even though it is a white problem, yet all too often the burden of educating whites about white privilege falls on the backs of people of color. You can't expect someone with a heel on the back of their neck to explain to you why they are in pain. To be silent is to be complicit. White privilege is unconscious, unintentional, and invisible to those who hold it, which is why it must be talked about if the valleys and mountains will ever be leveled. Will you remain patient when someone awakens, but ever so slowly? Will you remain asleep when the alarm goes off? Thank you.
That's my friend. Okay, so the next poet we have is another friend of mine, Demarie. And she's not global studies or LA term, but just watch. Just watch. That's all I got to say. Here we go.
Okay, so how are you guys? Okay, so my name is Demarie, and this poem is called... Dang, I just had a brain fart. I totally forgot the name of this poem. But anyway, I know why I wrote it. I can tell you that. I wrote this poem because there was a time in my life where I forgot about the people who loved me back. And I just want to tell you guys, don't forget about the people who love you back, because they love you. And to be honest, you're not alone. Even if you think you're alone, that's it. You think you're alone. But in reality, you just need to open your big, beautiful eyes and just realize that God has just given you so many people that love you back. So don't forget that. I am the gospel of the woman who bleeds to bear her bloody cross, which is stitched together in truth, because by default, I love you. A nobody was tattooed on your forehead, but I believed in you when everyone thought it was true. Though death is selfish, because it never gave back what I hoped for in the most. And after I have bled upon my blessings, I now give them back to God, for I love him for him and not for what he gives. And to my glorified individuality that was lathered in rain before the rapture took over me, how are you? And I'm sorry for so long that I've been a product of my environment and my past, because for too long I have bled from non-reciprocality and consistently not having anything being poured into me. But where would I be without your smile that consistently said amen, as waves of peace from your spirit formed tiny hills upon my skin? For I find no shame in being beautifully broken. And in this beautiful disaster of holy war, you will find a closet of hallelujahs ready to quest you and I. And as your reliable solace coheres to my once battered soul again and again, I now have an aurora borealis mind, all thanks to your amen. Thank you.
What's up, everybody? My name is Norris.
And I'm Danielle.
And one clap. That's what's up. And we will be leading the trip this summer called Journey to Sankofa. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about the trip. So this trip, we are leaving June 25th, coming back July 4th. We're traveling to Maryland, DC, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. Did I say Tennessee? I did. Arkansas and Louisiana. And so we're taking about 18 to 19 students. They're going to travel with us, and Danny's going to tell you about the rest.
Okay, so the trip it's like a civil rights tour. The name Journey to Sankofa came from the idea of Sankofa in the Twi language from Ghana means in order to move forward, you have to look back. And so we want to take students on a trip where they learn about the civil rights movement and see how it connects to the Black Lives Matter movement today and see what's going on in society today. And so we'll start, like he said, in the South to look at the civil rights movement and to look at different things like lynching and stuff like that and see how that connects to police brutality today. So we're going to end in Baltimore, Maryland to talk about Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray was a black man who was killed by police officers, and so we're going to see how all of history connects to what's happening today. And so we had students already come and apply. We have a team, and now we're just fundraising for the students to be able to go on the trip to pay for their tuition for the African American Experience class that'll be taught. Dr. Anduho will be teaching that course, and then also to pay for flights and things like that. And we're doing it in honor of Dr. Kumasi Brown's his life. If any of you knew him, he worked in the music department. He was my soul music professor when I was a freshman here at APU. He was a wonderful man, and in that soul music class, he taught us a lot about black music and how artists can use their poetry, can use their songs as a way of protest, as a way of talking about what's going on in society. And so when we're in Louisiana, we're focused solely on music and how we can use music as a way to fight against different systems that are oppressing people still today. And in the syllabus for the African American Experience course, there's a song that he would have had us listen to in his course every day for the students to listen to by like Nina Simone, Mahalia Jackson. There's also songs from today by like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, and we'll compare the songs and see how similar the lyrics are, and talk about why they're the same today. So yeah, that's just the gist of the trip. I'm really hyped. I'm excited that it's going to happen. So yeah, if you want to donate to the trip, there's a little basket that's going to go around. Kate Kimunzi is back there holding them. Or you can Venmo Kate or I. The Venmo, the money, if you name it Journey to Sankofa, we'll give the money to my boss in the center. Yeah, we promise it's going there. They go into my pockets. So yeah, you can Venmo Danielle Harris, 19, I think. Yeah, Danielle Harris, 19. Or Kate. Ask Kate. I'd rather you Venmo Kate, to be honest. And yeah, that'll be going to the students going this summer. So pray for us. That'll be a great journey. That we'll learn a lot, that we'll grow a lot, and that we'll continue fighting against injustices happening today.
Are we doing a second poem? I'm just kidding. Okay, how are you guys doing? Are you guys having a good time? Yeah? Okay, so we have another poet coming up, Jess Kenny. She was on LA term last semester, right?
Wow.
Yeah, last semester. So actually, let me tell you a little bit. How many of you guys are not global studies majors? Yeah, we've got a good enough chunk. How many of you guys know what LA term is? Okay, so we got I saw some hands now go up. So we have LA term and GLT. I don't like to make the assumption that people know what both of those are. LA term basically they're both programs underneath the Global Studies program. So LA term is a semester that's done in LA. It's a local semester. And then GLT is an abroad semester. I won't go too much into the details. There's flyers in the back. The professors are here. You can ask anyone questions. But I just want you guys to know what we're talking about because we keep throwing these terms around and I want to make sure. But anyway, she was on LA term. Let's welcome her up to the stage.
Hello. I'm going to sit down. This is a journal. I journal in it quite often. And I wrote this when I was sick. So there are some references in there. I forget how peaceful the present moment can truly be. What secrets of sweet honey can be revealed in the deepest of serenity. Bliss awaits, with rooms full of cherry blossom memories and flavorful cups of glimpses of divinity. I rest in awe of the unknown, finally, breathing in the thought of peace. Mindfulness of where I have been and where I'm going, but fully present in where my feet stand now. I've forgotten this life is a journey, one meant to be lived, not planned, experienced, not remembered. I will never get these moments back, so I inhale them with my tender, sickened nose. I can feel the air scrape my nostrils, smelling the brisk fire smoke the brisk fire smoke tangled in my hair. As I sip this bitter lemon thermoflute tea, I close my eyes, wiggle my nose, or wiggle my toes, feeling the soft sheets that wrap around my feet, my legs, my lower half, sitting up against my mountain of pillows with a lovely warm heating pad resting against my middle back, feeling my cleansed, dry face, soft and warm to the touch. Where have I been? It seems as if I've been off in another world, one where people are never satisfied in. Right now, I have just enough. Right now, I feel beautiful. Right now, I feel tender, kind, soft-spoken, generous, glowing, true, exalted, joyful, peaceful, pondering in good consciousness, and fruitful. Yes, fruitful indeed. What a beautiful beating heart in my chest. Life is so full. There are endless possibilities, endless. Lord, you are magnificent, truly epic you are. I want to know your story. Won't you show me? Won't you fill the chapters of my life with the memories of your experiences? Won't you show me life through your eyes, Father, so I can create my story in a way that honors the way that you created yours? I want to write a story like yours. I want to strive for you. More than that, I wish to shine with you. You'll be with me every step of the way, oh won't you please? I need you. I need you more than the air I breathe into my lungs, more than the sunshine that radiates upon my sweet face. Lord, I need you. Lord, I need you. More than this life, for I wish to always be more grateful for the giver rather than the gifts. How I am delighted by the gifts of life, beauty, favor, joy, rhythm, song, voice, boldness, compassion, empathy, perseverance, and so much more. I am simply more thankful for you, so won't you let me say, thank you, Lord. Thank you. I love you so.
That was fantastic. So we're gonna have a poet come up right now who also is a part of the Global Studies program, but she is. I met her my sophomore year when she was a freshman, and she's just full of joy and full of life and full of compassion. So right now we're gonna call up Desiree. Go ahead and give it up for her one time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Desiree, but I go by Des, or you can call me Desiree. So the theme is voices in the wind. But what happens when you have these emotions and feelings and you want to hold your voice back, but you are unaware that holding your voice back could save someone from their mental battle? We have emotions and feelings. We are human beings and we serve an emotional God, so share your emotions and feelings with other people. And that's what this poem is about. And it is entitled Treasure in a Fragile Clay Jar.
Yes, give it to us.
Who knew that one could break a heart by holding their tongue? For hearts are nothing but fragments of glass, mistaken for muscle that loses its strength when tears fall at the pace of every beat. And if pacemakers worked mostly through heartbreaks, then my heart has been nothing but a toy, shocked by people who only want to love me when they feel like it.
words have become empty like the eyes of the dead, heavy like stones that sit and wait until they are thrown, buried underneath the earth because time has left them too heavy to say. And one day, we will all be buried underneath broken treasures, crushed by every word that tongues could not find the courage to say. Unsaid words that could have helped anyone through the times where razors felt like kisses upon their flesh. Unsaid words that could have made her stay. Unsaid words that could have made someone feel worth it before they chose to take their life. Unsaid words that could have made any friend feel more important to you. Unsaid words that could have made your I love you sound more convincing instead of falsely expressing them through emojis. For if words are the pace that keeps hearts together, then silence is the sound of what it feels like to be continuously let down. For who knew that silence could sound like broken glass shattering under the force of unforced words? And even if one's words manage to kiss the ears of their recipient, I have learned that people only speak their wants just to satisfy you. For we live in a world where everyone has poor vision. Because though people see the future they want with the people they want, that still does not motivate them to speak up. What will it take for people to no longer settle? For them to open their eyes and realize that they deserve nothing but the best despite of what they have become. For we are nothing but treasure in fragile clay jars. You are nothing but treasure in a fragile clay jar. I am nothing but treasure in a fragile clay jar. Because though we all have been broken, our value does not decrease based on someone's inability to see our worth, based on someone's inability to speak up and tell us how they genuinely feel. And it's unfortunate that feelings have become a disablement because the wells that gave richness to speech and sound have finally run dry. Words have become empty like the eyes of the dead, heavy like stones that sit and wait until they are thrown, buried underneath the earth because time has left them too heavy to say. And one day, I hope that words can become alive like the exuberance of the sun. Lights like feathers that are carried by winds that are guided into the laps of strangers. Words that can mold us into potters so we can make jars big enough to collect and hold treasures found even in our most darkest hour. As if catching fireflies in the night. Who knew that light could be such a joy when it's yours?
Okay, so last but definitely not least, I get to introduce one of my friends. Like you said, I've known him for a very long time. We kind of grew out of our weird teenage years together, which is always fun. We're still there, yeah. But he didn't know he was a poet. I didn't know he was a poet. He probably knew, I don't know. But I didn't know he was a poet. And I found out through Paul, our professor, and I was like, what? He does poetry? Like, I'm from the same city as him. Shout out SB. We got a few SB people. But, it was a weird thing. But yeah, he's a poet. I think he's amazing. So I hope you guys enjoy. Kevin Velez.
Let's go ahead and give it up one time for all the poets who've come before me. Being true to the theme of the night. All of us really enjoy the fruit of people who have come before us. So thank you to all of you guys who have come. Thank you to all of you guys who have performed. And I hope this piece that I wrote inspires you. This is a piece a little bit about my own struggle with my ethnic identity. I am a recovering denier of my Mexicanness. I've always denied it to try to fit in to what I thought was a better way of doing life. But now I'm on that journey of reclaiming my identity. And so in this poem, you're going to hear a little bit about, what happens in my inner head. Not too much of it, though. I don't want you to, catch on fire or nothing. But you're going to hear a little bit about it. And so I hope you enjoy it. This piece is called Kin, for all my kinfolk. So here's a story for you. My ancestors came from places in Mexico whose names are foreign to my tongue, like Jalisco and Chihuahua and saying them out loud used to really make me self-conscious, because the only thing between them and me was distance. You see, I used to cringe calling myself Mexican because now there ain't an ounce of Spanish on this tongue, and even the God I worship was imported from the shores of Europe. Truth. Now, I used to feel the strain of years spent out of place in my skin. Yeah, I used to feel the strain of years spent out of place in my skin, belonging to Christ's body, but deforming myself to fit in. Now, no longer struggling with who I am or with who I should be, I cling to voices in the wind, consuming the sweet honey dripping from their lips as they call me kin. Nah, you a liar. And here's the other story, the more true one. Voices in the wind, more like too many voices in your head. You can't decide which to use. You code switch so easily, you don't belong to any set. I hear you kill them softly, in class doing your best to sound educated, using big words because you so insecure about your intelligence, trying to prove you belong. You ain't kin. And what about in church? You speak evangelical well, like heaven and hell, altar calls and salvation, tongues of fire, spirit fell, and you think you speak San Bernardino well. I hope they know you. I hope you know they can tell you're faking it. You sound so phony, like, bruh, it's lit. You so gassed up, you getting slept. You liar. You ain't Ken Brown there. You don't hear the voices in the wind, because you got your head in between your legs screaming for the storm to end. Your ancestors wouldn't call you kin. Nah, you too much like the conquerors. They don't know you, and neither do you. Stop lying. Like you got it all figured out. You praying for the blind to see, and you can't even see yourself. I don't. And my footing's insecure. Piecing together the shattered image of my identity, I can't find a mold that fits perfect, so I live in between them. Never fitting in, I've always considered it a curse. And this is not the final word, but this shattered image of identity is a mosaic of broken beauty, fragmented pieces of stained glass brilliance. Yeah, these pieces don't fit together perfect. Maybe they were never meant to. The disjointed pieces aren't reflections of who I am, they're conduits. And as fragments come together in beauty and the multicolored, multi-shaped portions are struck through with the radiance of the sun, I'm reminded of the voices penetrating the darkness, softly on the run, carried by the wind. Here you belong, and here you are kin. Thank you. All right, so that concludes our night. We got some refreshments in the back. I think there's empanadas and some iced tea for you. And then there's some flyers in the back. And so Sarah is going to come up and close us out with a word of prayer to our Lord Jesus Christ. I just made, yeah. You can do that.
Okay, let's pray. Thank you, God, so much for this awesome time that we got to have. Lord, thank you for the words that were spoken. We ask that, God, we would absorb them, that we would plant them, and that they would grow. That we'd hear the experiences of different students and allow them to shape us and mold us and change us to be more like you and like your heart that cares about our stories and what we experience. And we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys for coming. You guys can hang out, get some food, talk to people, get to know us. We're cool people, I think.
This one go out to you. This one was made for us. They can never take this from. That's $100 bill in God we trust. Trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. Trying to make a living entertaining people. Television telling me we in a doomsday. Elevate my mind, I gotta make it emo. Scrolling down my timeline, just came home. Mama cooking catfish, but I got a catfish message on my Facebook. Oh, had enough of that computer love. When I see my loved ones doing good on the grams. Twitter talking about the tyranny in hand. Thinking to myself, I probably never see my dog again. Gave him 20 by the life on a 3-strike plan. What you son? When you get it losing all tip. Pay attention, I just came to pay a visit to you. Comedian, cut an X, gon' give it to you. Yesterday I said today and then tomorrow came fast. Can a young brother live on auto plane passion? They say age factors in. Tell him mama page past pretend. Give me some aspirin. Coulda with a world work, make my head hurt. Try to give my heart to it, but instead earth spoke to me. My brother say anything like
Well, most of it.
Kind of.
I got here late, so.
Did you get me?
Yes, I did.
What are you gonna do?
I gave you a copy. Alex is my son, so I think he is.
I don't think he has one of it.
Okay. Well, give me. I'll just take it.
At the partner house outside, you gon' probably hear us talking about it's the teacher. You get out the jail in the free world with the business for the rebuild.
Share my email or my number or what?
That's the email. In, right?
Yeah, N-N-E-Y. Email or APU.edu. So JKenny14.
JK14